Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 20. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being here this Friday, Steelers Nation, as it is Texans week. Dave, how you doing?
Alex, did you know Derek Watt, TJ Watt, and JJ Watt are brothers?
Not cousins? But they were cousins.
No, they're brothers, man.
Okay.
They are brothers.
We'll hear that over under 78 times this weekend.
Yeah, boy, we've already heard it enough, this week here. Look, I get the significance of it. It's a great story, as was the Edmonds story, but I'm about ready for Watt week to be over with.
Yeah, well, we'll have to talk about that a little bit more as we prepare for the Houston Texans. Have a jam-packed show today, talking injuries and roster moves and, of course, previewing the Texans game. Before I start, though, I just want to give a shout-out to our Steelers Depot community and listenership. I know we had Drew Doherty on the podcast Wednesday, and I saw a lot of tweets and comments thanking Drew for his time and his insight, and I think he made a comment about feeling the love from Steelers Nation. So I just want to shout out everybody that reached out to Drew and said they heard him on the podcast. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, we certainly do. It just goes to show the kind of listenership that we've been able to build over the years there. And in fact, here's a DM that he sent me. He says, "Dave, it was a pleasure. It's been really cool seeing all the kind tweets thanking me. What a testament to the great work you've done and the following you've cultivated. Thanks again for having me." Of course, we wouldn't do this show without listeners. Without people listeners. I don't know. Maybe we would. I talk to myself quite a bit anyway, so maybe I could still have you to talk to and all. But look, I mean, this is something we've tried to do over the years, try to make it kind of a standard that during the week of game days that we bring in someone very reputable from the other team to get insight on the team. And I think over the years we've built quite a list up of good guys and to break this stuff down here. And I think Drew is one of them, and it does my heart good when I look at Twitter, and I know probably yours as well, Alex, when we see these people reach out to these beat writers on Twitter, and it also builds, we know for sure that the next time that we call on these guys that they're going to be open to coming back on the show again. So thank you to everybody who participates in acts such as that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to give a special shout out to Steelers Nation. All right, Dave, let's start off things with the roster move the Steelers just announced moments before we came on the show. Steelers signed defensive end Calvin Taylor to the practice squad. They released cornerback Trayon Bandy. Taylor was in for a visit earlier in the week, now officially signed now that Daniel McCullers signed to the active roster of the Chicago Bears. Taylor was a UDFA out of Kentucky who signed with the Steelers after the draft, released the final cutdown. Same with Bandy. He was out of the U. Kind of a UDFA sleeper in my estimation when they first signed him, but now he's a free agent.
Big Dan Jr.
Yeah, for real. Very nice. Taylor is 6'8", 310, and interesting body type.
Yeah, and one of those guys that when we look back at what we missed this offseason and all, would have loved to see him in a Steelers uniform participate in preseason games and read your training camp reports on him. Unfortunately, didn't do that. So really, all we have to go on right now is still his college tape. Give a quick recap of what his college tape shows.
Yeah, it was interesting. He had some good production at Kentucky. I think he had 8.5 sacks his senior season with the Wildcats. He moves every bit, though, of a guy that's 6'8", 310. It is kind of a lumbering style. He's certainly not fleet of foot. Obviously, his size can present as many upsides as downsides. We can get in throwing lanes, knock down passes. It can just be overwhelming and overpowering at times, but he's certainly a guy that does not move well laterally. So it is kind of a Big Dan type of style, although Taylor is an end, not a nose tackle, and not as heavy as Big Dan, who was as heavy as 352 pounds. I think he's a little bit lighter from that number now. Taylor's around 310 listed. So kind of a similar skill set and a slightly different body type.
So he's no Tyson Alualu, huh?
No, not by a long shot.
Boy, what that guy! I kind of undersold Tyson's game. Earlier in the week, saying, "Man, he had a good game. I'm not sure if it was as good as the one against the Giants." I don't know. You start combing back through that all 22. I'm gonna get my foot back out of my mouth there, man. That guy has been a monster, and not just the first two games of this season. I think going back to last season, but man, I mean, he really and I worried about a little bit about that position move. A little bit, obviously, you're losing a guy like Javon Hargrave, but man, they have through two games, they haven't lost anything right now the way that he's playing. We got to find out what he's drinking or eating or whatever, because he's 33 going on 23 right now.
Right. You posted the stat on Twitter that he's tied for the highest win rate for any defensive tackle in football at something like 29%.
Man, it's not even fair what he's doing to some of these centers. Poor Cushion.
Yeah, welcome to the league, bro.
Yeah, welcome to the NFL. I mean, this guy, Alu right now, and look, I mean, obviously I didn't watch a ton of Jaguars stuff early in his career, but I watched a lot of it after the Steelers had signed him, a few years ago. And he had his moments there, but it was nothing that really, got you overly excited. It just seemed like a typical kind of perfect kind of depth guy, more from a 5-3 technique guy, more than anything. But once again, this guy he is playing. Right, he's playing right now how the Jaguars probably hoped he would have played as a first-round draft pick some 10, 11 years, however many years ago it was. He's a guy that I wasn't sure, even at the start of this year. I thought, well, okay, this might be his last year, but the way he's playing right now, he's a guy that hopefully maybe you can get back after the season on a minimum or near minimum contract, if he keeps it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And he'll have a tougher matchup this weekend against Nick Martin and the Texans. The one caveat, I don't mean to take away anything from Alualu because he's been fantastic, but week 1 he played Nick Gates, a tackle, converted to center. Week 2 played Cushenberry, a rookie. So I think week 3 will be the best litmus test so far for him and for the Steelers defensive line. So Taylor gets signed. Bandy is gone. Hopefully Bandy will circle back. I was impressed by the tape I saw at the U. I know you were as well, kind of a Mike Hilton type of guy, and obviously with Hilton and Sutton being free agents after the year and really no one in the hopper, it'd be nice to have at least some sort of option heading into the offseason.
Yeah, kind of, look, you have to make room, and you're kind of real deep at that position right now, and healthy too, knock on wood. So I don't think hopefully we haven't seen the last of Bandy. I mean, his college tape, though, the further you get into you got 16-man practice squads across the league, and the further you get into his college tape, and the further you get into this season where teams, start looking toward 2021, you have to wonder if there's someone out there that might be impressed enough to add him to the practice squad there. So hopefully he'll circle back at some point and land back on the Steelers practice squad.
Some other housekeeping I don't think we have addressed yet. They've also signed wide receiver Cody White to the practice squad. White was in for a second visit of the summer. Earlier this week, officially signed receiver out of Michigan State, bigger body type, who did not test very well at the combine. And I think, as we mentioned earlier in the show, Daniel McCullers has been poached by the Chicago Bears. He is signed officially to their active roster. So Big Dan, after 7 years in Pittsburgh, his time with the Black and Gold is over. I
foresee this Cody White signing maybe being Juju has not practiced 2 days this week. Deontay early in the week. Maybe some guys maybe want to get a little body rest too during practice there this week. With Cody kind of being a bigger kind of guy, I guess long and short of it, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody's stay on the practice squad isn't very long, and especially if this team comes out of this week healthy at the wide receiver position. Maybe that's the move that you make next week. Cody White back gone to bring Bandy back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Did you watch him at all coming out of Michigan State? And it was a bigger body, maybe more of a possession type, but I didn't really have a good feel for his game coming out of Michigan State.
I just watched a couple of highlights on him. Nothing that really jumped off the tape with him, other than just another one of those kind of contested catch kind of guys, I think.
Gotcha. And then McCullers. Did we talk about McCullers on Wednesday? I feel like that came after.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about
we
him.
did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, 7 years in Pittsburgh, and I know I was very critical of McCullers, and obviously,
I was too. We held hands on it the whole time.
Yeah, but I do want to say 6-round pick, 7 years in the NFL. What probably 5% of 6-round picks get 7 years in the NFL. So kudos to Big Dan for that. Wish him well in Chicago.
Yeah, and who knows? Who knows if he might circle back at some point there. Never say never. But, look, the Bears obviously thinking, and they've had some injuries on the defensive line and also maybe a decent chance that Big Dan sticks. Look, they let who is the kid they let go several years ago that I think that's over there with the Bears right? Is he with the Bears right now?
Akeem Hicks?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. The guy that was on not Hicks. I'm drawing a blank here, Alex. Kid, I think that was on the Steelers. Was he undrafted free agent? I'll pull it up here in a little bit.
Yeah,
and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about.
Well, let me pull up their depth chart. He was a practice squad guy that the Bears poached or signed and turned into.
I want to
something.
say so. He's a defensive lineman. Oh, I'm drawing a damn blank on this.
I don't see anyone on the roster right now.
Yeah,
maybe someone from past.
I can't think of it. I'll think of it
All
as
right.
the show goes on.
Yeah, it'll pop in during the Texans preview.
Right.
We'll blur it out. All right, let's transition to the Steelers injury report because you touched on injuries a little bit earlier, Dave. And the Steelers looking in pretty good shape. David Castro's been full basically all week, and he looks all but certain to play his first game of 2020 Sunday versus Houston. The big injury to watch right now is Juju Smith-Schuster, who has missed entirely the last 2 days of practice with a knee injury. So that's something to monitor, and today will be a big day for his status against the Texans.
Yeah, but Nick Williams.
A kid at a 7th-round pick at Samford.
Yeah, Nick Williams had 6 sacks with the is he still with the Bears or no?
I don't believe so. I didn't see him listed on the depth chart. But he carved out a career
he's
for himself.
he's with the Lions now, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he signed like a 2-year deal.
Okay, that's why I couldn't find him. Out of Sanford. Boy, that guy. I remember John Mitchell. I hate to go
talking
down,
him up.
I don't want to spend too much time going down the rabbit hole here, but he really talked about his athleticism. Remember that?
Mm-hmm, I do.
Coming out of man, how many years ago has that been? It seems like
2013,
2014 or 13 or something like that. I don't remember for sure, but man, that guy had a phenomenal season last year with the Bears. Of course, having a guy like Hicks. And then for a little while, with Mack over there and all like that. So and he's he's played in one game. He doesn't have any sacks so far this year. So man, that was going to kill me if I didn't come up with that one. I had to find out. Where were we?
Juju and that knee. Wondering what's going on with that knee injury.
Juju and that knee. That sounds like a top 40 band or something from the from the 80s and all. He was on Instagram last night, telling fantasy players to make sure to have him in their lineup. So take that for whatever it is. Sat out, as you said, Wednesday and Thursday. I would expect he's back at it today in some capacity, maybe even full. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't even get a status report to close out the week here. So that's obviously with him, he was the only player, I think, not to practice on Thursday. Everybody else was full, and that includes David DeCastro 2 days in a row. Looks like they're going to get him back this week, coming off of that knee injury of his. It'd be good to have him back in the fold there. One interesting development that happened after the injury report was released yesterday. J.C. Hassenauer, of course, the backup center guard, was listed, was added to the injury report about an hour after it was released with an ankle injury after practicing fully. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Hassenauer this week here. Now, I guess the question comes, who you're not going to address if you get DeCastro back, who's going to be the odd man out here?
Right. And Hassenauer is going to have to dress because, assuming he's healthy, because he's the backup center. Really, no one else can snap.
Correct, right?
So is it going to be Derwin Gray, Gerald Hawkins?
I would think maybe Gray would
Gray,
be the.
Yeah, because Hawkins has to be up.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think Hawkins would have to be up there because he also kind of plays that tackle eligible, right? If you will, on top of it. So it would stand to reason that Derwin Gray would be the odd offensive lineman out this week with DeCastro back.
Right, because they'll have 9 and they only need 8 to activate the 48-man roster.
Now, what happens if Hassenauer takes a slide back today?
Well, I mean, he'd be the odd man out, but then the question just is who's your backup center? Is it Filer?
Yeah, that'd be a good question.
I mean, I hope we don't have to answer that question because there is no other center on this team, but Filer has taken emergency snaps in camp before. They weren't pretty, but he's doing the old Chris Hubbard. We'll trot him out there and see what happens, and that might be the backup option.
And they don't have any other center capable on the practice squad either, so...
Right. You think, though, if Hassenauer was in serious doubt, they would have signed somebody maybe today instead of bringing in Calvin Taylor. Or they'll sign somebody, prior to Sunday's game.
Right. So we'll watch what happens with that. That was an interesting kind of late development there. All right. While we're on, and look, I mean, everybody else on the injury report. I mean, a couple of guys, veteran days, obviously early in the week. Deontay with a toe was back to work. Tyson Alualu with a knee was back to work. Who else was on there that actually had an injury there?
I think that was it. Yeah, Deontay's going to be on every week with a toe. It feels like just something he's battling through. But everyone else, Cam, Pouncey, Ben, that was all to it. It was all just days off.
Right. So all right. So with that, we would think Dobbs inactive. We would think Derwin Gray inactive. We would think Carlos Davis inactive. UG3.
And Gentry.
Those going to be your 5. I mean, is there any reason to call? There's no reason to call anybody up from the practice squad again. I mean, or for the first time, right? So
yeah,
I think those are your 5 as we sit here right now.
Yeah, looking like it with Houston. What's Will Fuller's status? I hadn't checked the injury report for Houston.
He is not on the injury report.
Okay, so he's a full go.
Yeah, so he's a full go, I think. I mean, Brandon Cooks has been limited both days with a quad. Going to be interesting to see what happens with Duke Johnson. Still limited with an ankle. I haven't really heard anything specific with him. A couple other guys limited. J.J. Watt was limited on Wednesday with a groin. Was back full again on Thursday. And, he's obviously going to play. So I think the most questionable guy would be Peter Colombier with a hamstring. I think him and Duke Johnson, the 2 guys on their injury report that did not suit up for that game against the Baltimore Ravens. Going to be interesting to see what the status of those 2 are. And I would imagine Brandon Cooks is going to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big threat weapons in the pass game with Cooks and Will Fuller. All right, we'll have the injury report, the final one of the week, up on Steelers Depot a little bit later today. Moving on to Coordinator's Corner. Well, I don't have that anymore, but we'll call it that anyway. I guess Keith Butler. I guess I'm to blame for that one.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
they blame us for a lot of stuff, don't they? That media room.
Mm-hmm. All right, Keith Butler. Randy Fichtner spoke with the media yesterday, and we'll start with Keith Butler because he was asked the question. I'm glad he was asked. Kudos to whoever asked the question that what happened on the Noah Fant touchdown, and we broke it down and kind of gave our best view of the play and what the blame was on that one. But Keith Butler said somebody was supposed to blitz, and they did not. And I think regardless of who was supposed to blitz, if we can talk about that, Dave, it seems like Devin Bush was on his own on that play. The design of that play was for him to just deal with Fant the best he can, and when you're running an out-breaking route with inside leverage, it's a real tough spot to put your linebacker in.
And that's kind of what I said the other day, too, about, man, he just, and what led me to believe that, the breakdown that we had up was more likely to be correct there. It's almost like he had read that the whole fast out thing and that one of those 2 guys in Edmonds or Hilton was to carry number 2, which was Fant in this case here. Bush never had a chance from his alignment and really the way he kind of reacted off the snap, the way he kind of opened up there, the amount of distance he's lined up off the ball, and then the amount of spacing that he's inside with that leverage. He never had a chance, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Nope. And they did it again later in the game with 3:14 left in the fourth. The Broncos ran the same self combination, and Bush tried to undercut it and missed it, and Fant made that juggling, toe-tapping catch on the left sideline. So I think just by design, Bush was on his own, and I believe Hilton was probably the guy that was supposed to blitz. That's the most logical option considering how often he blitzes 23 times in the first two games. But regardless, one of them, Edmonds or Hilton, is blitzing, so the other is going to have the flat, and Bush is going to be on his own to carry Fant vertical.
I think when you go back and after you know the answer to the question and can relook at things from a different perspective, the way Bud Dupree did rush on that to the inside would maybe lead one to believe that he was clearing out the outside for a blitzer. The way when you look at the all 22 view right after the touchdown happens, Cam Hayward and Bud Dupree staring back with their arms out, saying WTF, leads you to believe that they were expecting somebody else to come with them off of that side. The thing is, where are they looking? Are they looking at Edmonds or are they looking at Hilton, who is looking at Edmonds? So yeah. There is still some level, I think. Okay, at least Keith Butler told us somebody was supposed to blitz. All right, there is still some level of uncertainty in my mind of who that person was. You would think because of percentages and all, and closer to the line and the ability to impact it more, that maybe it was Hilton. But at the same breath, how surprising would it be if Edmonds was the guy? You know,
yeah.
We're probably not going to know that. Deductive reasoning would have you believe that it would be Hilton, but man, the way he's kind of turned around immediately with Edmonds there, and the way those other two are kind of looking, who knows? You know, and then Edmonds did blitz later in the game, thank goodness, and got the key play there. And once again, one of the most disturbing things I think about that play is that. Maybe Bush read it wrong too. I don't know. But there was no way that was set up to be a win for Fant if Bush was supposed to cover him on that play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hope would be that the blitz would get home and have a free shot at the quarterback that would impact the play. That is the only way Devin Bush is getting help on that one.
Right. If that ball comes out in any direction of Fant, that's going to be a touchdown. So,
right.
You got to look at other teams are going to look at that for sure. So they've got to dial that back in somehow. Nasty split tight end red zone corner route seems to be the rage right now, right?
Yeah, Gesicki caught one Thursday night last night, and yeah, I mean tight ends in the red zone just in general, big athletic receivers essentially. That's what Fant and Gesicki are. They're going to make plays down there.
How about we see Eric Ebron nasty split red zone corner TD this week?
I wouldn't be mad. Would not be mad one bit.
So we apologize. We guessed the best that we could do on that, and it was a fine breakdown by Tyler. Makes a lot of sense with the way he wrote it up, and look, we all three conferred on this as well too. So sometimes you miss them, and we missed on that one.
Yeah, well, that's just the difficulty of trying to figure out when things go wrong, what was supposed to happen. When things go right and it's teach tape, it's very easy to break down and explain. But when things go wrong and you can try to piece it together, that's why I try to lean on other examples from that game. And I wish I would have noticed that one late in the fourth quarter earlier because that would have maybe given some more clarity. But and then on that one in the fourth quarter, they were in base, not nickel, so no one blitzed on that play. But it was a 5-man rush, so it's hard to get an exact one-to-one comparison for what it was supposed to look like.
So dollars to donuts, you would bet now it was Hilton.
Yeah, that would be the best guess. But, I mean, Hilton's usually a smart guy, so I wonder what happened for him to not blitz on that play. What was his interpretation of it.
Right, and we'll never know, unfortunately, probably.
No, we will not. But Keith Butler said he's not outing the guy who it was, and I can respect that. Obviously, not going to call someone out and make that a bigger story.
We have it narrowed down to 2.
It was Mike Hilton in the library with the
candlestick.
Yeah. With the candlestick. There you go. Found our man. Anything else Keith Butler said that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I was so focused on that. I can't remember what else that he said. Help me out here. Let me pull
Well, talked about, speaking of Hilton, we just talked about the timing of the blitz. And I did a video breakdown of Mike Hilton. Thought he played one of his best games of his career against Denver on Sunday. And the timing of those blitzes, to being able to hold that blitz for as long as possible. And on the one sack he had at Jeff Driscoll, he does a great job to hold it to the last second. Driscoll never sees him, and he comes in free and makes the play. So, yeah, Mike Hilton to time those blitzes, to cover, to be the B-gap run-fit defender. Like, you just don't see that overall skill set for a nickel corner very often.
Boy, that guy's on Mike Hilton, for years now. Is there a better? We talked about it the other day. I think this is a guy that Nick Vanette looked like he's playing 5-tech. Out there on the edge and all. I sure would like to see the Steelers retain him, but I just don't see how they can. The guy's going to get paid big time, and he should. The guy, bless his heart, man, went through that awkward process of the whole exclusive rights to restricted and all like that. He can't. There's no way Mike Hilton can settle for just to return to the Steelers. He's going to have to test the market, and somebody's going to make him a wealthy man. I have a feeling.
Yep, and that team probably will not be the Pittsburgh Steelers, unfortunately. But, Butler just talking about the innate timing and feel and sometimes the subtle body language of receivers and tackles and quarterbacks that kind of tip their hand of when the blitz may be coming.
They also talked about high blitz rates and how that's not sustainable, and we saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, they're at 61%. And I think, honestly, and we'll talk about it more once we get into the Texans game, if they try to blitz as much as they have the first 2 weeks against Houston, it's not going to work. I think Houston, obviously, they have a better quarterback, and I think they have more designed blitz beaters than what Denver or New York had.
We could see more instances this week of them dropping 8.
Yeah, they usually drop 8 against, statue quarterbacks, but I think they just want to either just send their standard 4-man rush or just send 4 creatively as opposed to 5 and 6 and even 7 sometimes like they have been the first 2 weeks of the season.
And look, the way this offensive line, and I don't want to get too deep into the breakdown anyway, but the way their offensive line is, the Texans offensive line isn't great. We have seen one of the highlights, especially last year, about the Steelers front was the ability to get pressure with 4. So this is a game where that's going to be expected.
Right, and they're still getting pressure with 4, so it's not like they're blitzing because they have to. But I think this is the week to probably scale back that blitz rate. Still blitz some, of course, but I think Houston's going to catch on to what Pittsburgh's doing right now.
All right, with anything else, or really wasn't much of anything else, about the run game and all like that. Does Houston run a lot of what Denver does up front there? And look, I mean, Denver's going to be smart. They haven't been. I mean, Houston's going to be smart because their run game hasn't lit the world on fire overall. I mean, they've had some decent yards per carry. Deshaun Watson obviously aids that and all, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see them try to do some of that backside stuff that Denver did this past week.
Yeah, Denver did a really good job of getting vertical on their runs. Even some of their zone runs, they hit quicker and allowed the cutback, and they did a good job not letting Dupree and Watt crash backside the way that New York did. And so I think Keith Butler called those wind-back runs. And I think just overall Denver had a quicker, more explosive run game and forced the Steelers to play more of their base defense, and that's why they finally kind of shut the run down in the second half, but got gashed a little bit early. And Steelers just got to play cleaner on defense. There were still some misalignments and some coverage busts. Not even talking about the Fant touchdown, but there's other plays that weren't even completed where there are guys running open. So this defense obviously is talented and they're making plays, but there are still a good amount of things that this group has to clean up.
Yeah, far from perfect defense yet. I mean, through 2 games. So, and this is going to be, in my opinion, their biggest test from opposing quarterback standard as well too. So, circle this one for the defense. Obviously no Nuke Hopkins to have to deal with here. Thank God for that. but no slouches, from top to bottom. They use their tight end a little bit more than what I thought they would initially to start the season as well too. And Deshaun Watson, as we get into the breaking down here in a little bit here, obviously can kill you with the feet. He's pressed the football down the field quite a bit so far in the first 2 games, probably by necessity and being down on the scoreboard. But I mean, that's something that he's done throughout his career as well too. Still a nice high completion rate overall. And one of those interceptions that he's had, one of those ones against the Ravens there, I think kind of late in the first half there, that was just a phenomenal play by, I don't know if you remember that one, the Marcus Peters interception in that game. Marcus Peters peeled off of his man and just made a fantastic read in man coverage, working back towards the numbers there, and kind of stole that one from Deshaun Watson there. So a tough test from the quarterback position for sure when it comes to Deshaun Watson and the Texans offense.
Absolutely, their toughest test of the season so far by a considerable margin after playing Daniel Jones and mostly Jeff Driscoll in week 2. Randy Fichtner speaking with the media as well. I didn't really get a whole lot of valuable information from Fichtner here. We talked about well, I thought it was fine. I'm not trying to knock Randy. I just didn't really learn a whole lot. But Ben's working on footwork even on Wednesday's day off. I feel like he was still trying to get some footwork stuff in, and he talked about that earlier in the week about trying to work on his technique and mechanics and his feet a little bit, because football, playing quarterback is from the ground up. And if your footwork's good, then everything else will probably be okay. If your footwork is bad, then probably everything else is going to be bad too.
Yeah, kudos for Ben for coming in and saying, that's one of the things. Look, I mean, and I think we hit on this on the show the other day. The nerves, the excitement of being back, getting caught back up with the speed of the game. I mean, this guy that didn't play, didn't take an offensive snap for almost a full year there, right? So getting back in the flow of things now, can start working on some of the finer details and all, and footwork and all being one of those things there. So, gradually, and I think Mike Tomlin hit on this the other day, talking about, still got some meat on the bone, still have some rust to knock off. Yeah, absolutely. Accuracy probably needs to be a little bit better for sure. Obviously, his wide receivers need to help him out. He's got to start trusting himself a little bit more on some of these throws. Everything that he said, after the game, and really, the things that Randy Fichtner had said about, Ben yesterday are on the money there. So it'd be interesting to see if he is kind of getting that base a little bit better and stepping in to those throws and working on kind of the finer details of his mechanics.
I saw that you had written an article about Derek Watt and Fichtner's commentary on Watt and how he's itching to play this weekend, of course, just given the whole historic, I guess, matchup of all the Watt brothers. And you feel like Watt may actually get some substantial playing time this weekend? Yeah,
I think he will. Look, this and I think you guys kind of wrote it up in your preview as well too. This is a Texas defense that probably can be hit on the perimeter, right?
Yeah, if they line up in some of the right fronts, because if they line up in like a 5-1 front and you get the ball on the edge, and if you crack some of these linebackers who are kind of rolling up on the line of scrimmage.
And I think, too, the less that you can have J.J. Watt pinning your ears back up against you, the more that the more successful that you can run and kind of keep, especially to his side, kind of keep him honest, if you will, the better. Now, here's the thing. If Derek Watt plays, the more snaps Derek Watt plays in this game, the more likely the Steelers have won more than a possession on the scoreboard, because obviously if you get into the fourth quarter and you've got a couple possession lead on them, you're probably going to throw Derek Watt out there and you're probably going to run behind the fullback a lot more in this game. Other than that, I think he'll be hard pressed to hit 15 snaps. I don't know about you.
Yeah, the fullback is just so game flow dependent. As you said, if you're up late and you're trying to run your 4-minute offense, close out a game, as we saw last week against Denver, your fullback's going to play more. If you're behind or it's a close game, or if you're getting in a lot of 2-minute drill type of stuff, then your fullback's not going to play. So I think maybe as as a base and game plan thing, he'll play a little bit more and hopefully get some work in the red zone and some goal line situations. But his overall snap count is going to be just so inconsistent because it is truly game dependent.
Right, it's going to be hard to predict this. And look, I mean, I know they had success on the pool late to Connor. Look, that's really where you want the hammer to come in anyway, is in the second half. If you got a lead, to kind of wear those guys down, especially if you've had some limited success in the running game there. So, do I think we might see more of Derek Watt than we've seen in the first two games? Yes. Do I think we were going to see as much as maybe people are maybe anticipating? Probably not. But I mean, once again, it could be dependent on how big a lead this team has in the second half.
Right. How many snaps has Watt played that has not been the last 5 minutes of the game?
Yeah, that's as far
Probably
as time.
3 to 5.
Hold on a minute here. Let me pull up.
Because most of his snaps last week came on that last drive, and 3 of his 14 offensive snaps have been kneel downs. So just throw those out, so we get 11 actual offensive snaps to work with here.
And we got it so good at Steelers Depot, don't we? Here with this fantastic Tom Mead charting here. Shout out to brother Tom Mead.
Absolutely.
Does fantastic work on the side. He's taken over the offensive charting from brother Matthew Marksey this year, and I just love being able to pull this stuff up, sort it, and here we go, Alex. Here's the answer to your question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of 11 of Derek Watt's snaps have come in the fourth quarter.
Okay, how many in the final 5 minutes?
How about final 2 minutes? I can whittle it down that way for you.
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 snaps within the final 2 minutes of the game.
All right.
Oh,
well,
Lord, I'm spoiled, man. You guys have spoiled me.
Now, kudos to Tom because he's getting those in really quickly, and they've been excellent. And so kudos to him. Yeah, so Watt's obviously playing very late in game situations. I think that will expand maybe a little bit. And they just haven't had a lot of goal line situations either in the red zone. I know they had 1 or 2 carries against Denver last week, but they've not really had a lot of like low red zone opportunities. So I think if that comes up more throughout the ebb and flow of the season, then you'll see Watt's snap count take up a little bit more in non-close it out situations.
3 of the snaps have been kneel down variety. 1 of those, he only has 1 first half offensive snap, and that was to close out the first half against the Denver Broncos with the 7-second left kneel down. So I guess where they can maybe get some snaps. I'll go out on a limb and say this. How's this? 4 first half snaps for Watt this week.
Ooh, I like it.
I think that I think that should kind of be in the game plan there to maybe see if you can maybe run some power or some lead, just some lead fullback there, you know, and try to maybe get a hat on, because another good thing that you guys, once again, you guys spoil me here. They're not a gap penetrating run team. Defense, right? They're more of a kind of a old school two gapping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, obviously they can mix and match like any defense, but they are one of the more older school teams in terms of their run defense. And you see that in their linebacker tackles numbers. McKinney and Cunningham have a ton of tackles, and that's because their defensive line trying to take on blocks and let those guys run free behind them.
So if that's if they're going to go old school like that, if they're going to go large up front too, it makes sense maybe to go old school on the other side and slam up fullback in there into one of those gaps. So the whole Derek, inside the Watt brothers story, I think one of the most intriguing storylines will be how much can the Steelers use Derek Watt at fullback in this game.
I'll one up you and say first snap of the game they'll come out with a fullback. And because they haven't done that so far, they've been coming out 11 personnel, a little bit more spread, and I think they come out with a fullback to start.
Here's another thing. Kudos to Tom. Most of the snaps that Derek Watt has been in have been 22 personnel.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Right.
Short yardage, close it out kind of situations. The one thing I'm mad about Derek Watt is he obscured Kevin Dotson on his kneel down last week, lining up right behind him. He's got to work on that. But Dotson, of course, probably will not play this week because David Castro will get the start, his first one of the season. And Randy Fichtner said that's going to bring a smile to his face, a smile to my face as well, and probably a smile to Ben's face.
All right, we got 10 minutes out of a Watt fullback conversation from Randy Fichtner. What else did Randy Fichtner have to say?
It's the Nick Williams and Derek Watt show today. Hope you guys are enjoying it.
Only on the Terrible Podcast, right? Next level. Yeah. Once again, kudos to Tom. You guys, it's amazing. I can sit here and pull this stuff up like this.
Yeah, no, Tom's doing a great job and definitely appreciate that. Randy also talked about Ben's throwing motion, and Ben talked about maybe changing some of that stuff and maybe not feeling it's 100% normal. Randy kind of compared it to a golf swing and trying to get his groove back. So hopefully Ben doesn't look like Barkley out there Sunday.
There you go.
I think that was really about it in terms of Randy. Anything else that he said that you really wanted to touch on?
No, I think we got the coordinator corner handled. Did you hear my squeaky chair any?
I do.
Really make you feel at home here.
Staple of the show.
The Keith Butler effect.
How old's that office chair? Well,
it's not very old at all, but I'm hard on things, Alex.
I need a new office chair. Anyone has any suggestions? I got this crappy $40 Walmart thing I've had for years. I got to buy myself a new one.
Well, there's my. What was that? Hold on, we're gonna have an appearance. She says, "Oh my God, hard on things." You got a surprise appearance from my wife on the Terrible Podcast today. Yeah, I would like I told her I want to get one of those kind of newfangled gaming chairs. I don't game, but just for comfort and also. Anybody got any good suggestions for a kind of an office gaming chair? Send them along. And shout out to wifey on the Terrible Podcast there.
All right, Dave.
Can you imagine what it's like to live with me?
I am not answering that. I know better at this point. Anything else you want to touch on from other interviews that's happened throughout the week that weren't Randy or Keith Butler?
I'm trying to figure out Minka Fitzpatrick. Obviously saying about in so many words, what do you have to say about Bush to just put him in a tough situation, right?
Yeah, just saying it's a tough spot to be and just kind of confirming what we talked about earlier in the show. And yeah, that is, I guess they're plays that you want to see those high-level linebackers make, but I just know given the inside leverage on an out-breaking route and given the overall concept, that's just a really tough play for Bush to make.
Juju saying rookie Chase Claypool's ahead of his time. Juju saying it's team first, and they're not. In other words, we shouldn't see any Gatorade coolers destroyed on the sideline. Eric Ebron in so many words saying it's all about team. What else? Nothing really jumps out to me about any of these things that these other players have said during the week here. I don't think.
Yeah, same here. So we can move on to the Houston Texans preview, if you would like.
All
right. So Houston coming in 0-2, but I think as we all understand, there's context to that 0-2, where they've lost to the arguably two best teams in football in Kansas City and Baltimore. And just off the top, another very obvious statement to make is they'll be facing the best quarterback they faced all season in Deshaun Watson. And Dave, obviously Deshaun Watson is not the best quarterback in football, although I think he's right up there. But he's my favorite quarterback to watch. I think he's just a leader, a really good guy, high character, and as a football player, just him throwing off platform, it is ridiculous the throws he makes. I think he's probably the second best off platform quarterback in football, only behind Patrick Mahomes. He can just throw from any sort of muddy pocket, which is good because the Texans have not done a great job protecting him in the pocket.
And he has shown, he especially showed it against the Ravens this past week there. He can extend plays. So man, if you have a quarterback that can extend a play and throw off of any platform, that makes them doubly dangerous. That's Ben Roth, and he's got some build to him too. He's a tough guy to bring down. So it's an athletic Ben Roethlisberger with that can throw off any platform, if you will. It makes him doubly dangerous too, or triply dangerous in the fact that he can take off with the football. As well. So I think, goes back to you asked me, is there anything that any players have said during the week here? I think it goes back to initially what Cam Hayward said earlier in the week here. Rush lane integrity. That is got to be something that's got to be in the heads of these guys this week here. It's another reason maybe you won't see a lot of blitzing this week. It's a reason why you probably want to try to, if possible, play a little bit more zone, if of all possible, because if you get your defensive backs in a lot of man coverage, their backs are going to be turned, and if you don't have rush lane integrity, you could have a Russell Wilson week 2 situation crop up on you, like we saw last season here. So you gotta have a lot of eyes on Deshaun Watson. And if you get a chance, I think you have to be careful how you rush him. Try to keep some level of containment, because if this guy gets out of the pocket here, all bets are off.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a threat certainly to run, either by design or more often by just ad-libbing it, as Mike Tomlin would say. And he's got some weapons too. I mean, I know that obviously not having DeAndre Hopkins is a noticeable loss, but Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, those are really speedy options to make plays downfield. And as you said earlier, the tight ends are getting involved. Jordan Akins, Darren Fells, and they do a great job of throwing Y-stick against the blitz. Just a 5-yard out route by the tight end. If they want to blitz linebackers or DBs, so that against Kansas City and Baltimore, they have some really good built-in blitz beaters. And so if the Steelers want to bring pressure, I think Houston will counter that better than what New York and what Denver did.
And it's not unusual for what the Steelers are going to face a lot of in today's NFL too. But when you have a nice running game, look, David Johnson, very, very, you could do a lot of things with David Johnson, and with the mobility of Deshaun Watson, a lot of ability to do some misdirection stuff too. And look, we didn't get to see. Here's the thing with the progression. They probably prepared for some of that stuff with Drew Lock last week. Now, Locke obviously was knocked out of the game, and Driscoll was not really, considered that kind of guy that you probably want to concentrate. Heck, he was just good to get the ball off in a lot of situations there. But with a guy like Watson, I think a lot of what you maybe prepared for last week with some misdirection rollout stuff and some tight ends coming across the formation, maybe you'd be able to put that into use this week, because I think that a couple of times you will see the tight end come across from the other side of the formation off of misdirection, particularly to the right side there. So that's another thing that you have to be cognizant about this week.
Yeah, that was the title of our scouting report on the Texans offense, was the run and pass game complement each other well. They'll run split zone with a tight end coming backside on the end man on the line of scrimmage, and then they'll play action off of that and hit the tight end in the flat, or run some sort of spider 2Y banana looking thing with someone coming behind on an over route 10 yards deep. So their runs look like passes look like runs, and so it can be tough to key in on, and that's going to be a challenge for Pittsburgh.
How much play action did you see them use? That's one thing I forgot to look back on. How much play action have they used?
A decent amount, for sure. Again, they want to use that run action to try to suck up the defense, and that can either create second-level opportunities for some of these receivers, or receivers running deep, or the tight ends getting open. And again, they'll run some look like split zone stuff with a Y off ball, and then they'll throw it to the flat and just kind of get a quick, easy completion that way. So, yeah, I think we'll see a decent amount of play action.
And he's not afraid to go deep, either down the side to Will Fuller or Cooks. Both those guys can stretch the field, and they also are not opposed to running dagger concepts either. And that's something that we've seen hurt the Steelers in the past, and sometimes in unique situations too, like third and Harrisburg kind of type, or fourth and long situations. So got to be cognizant of that. You have to think too that they've been watching a few things on. You pointed out, I think, 3 or 4 instances where there have been miscommunication, where guys just running open across the middle of the field as well too. And as I mentioned, and the statistics, the next level kind of statistics back this up early as well too. Deshaun is not afraid to push the football down the field.
Right. Now, as a fearless student, when you got Fuller and Cooks, but both guys run 4.3 something, you got a lot of speed there. Cooks is averaging over 16 yards a catch, and Fuller, that number isn't as strong as like 12 yards a catch, but still, I mean, he's one of the fastest dudes on the field, and he's going to be healthy and play Sunday, it appears. So you got to be careful not giving up the deep ball to either of those guys.
And also with a guy like with David Johnson, you can do a lot of things. Le'Veon Bell in his prime light, if you will. You can split them out. You can throw to them out of the backfield as well. One of the things coming out of college was David Johnson. Is David Johnson a wide receiver? Is he a running running back, so we can't forget about those aspects of the quality traits that David Johnson has there. And look, I mean, he's a running back first and foremost as well too, so he can break one on you on top of him. So this. I think you look at this team, Alex, and you say, 0-2, Bill O'Brien, just not maybe an overall well-coached team top to bottom. They've lost some key pieces on a defense there, especially offensively in Nuke Hopkins. They still got some quality players on this team that can kill you. And the schedule maker was not kind to them out of the chute. And because of the opposing offenses that they've had to play, putting up points on them, I don't think we've seen the full gamut of what they can do. So if you're in a close ball game with them and it lets them to stay within what they want to do game plan and playbook wise, you can't undersell this offense.
No, I agree. And David Johnson, I think he's looked healthy. I mean, he looked bad in Arizona last year, but I think he's looked healthy this year. And while the overall, I think they're 31st in rushing yards and 30th in attempts because they've been behind in games. They're 15th in yards per carry. Johnson's got a pretty good average. Keith Butler made a good point talking about him as a jump cutter and being able to hit a different gap and avoid linebackers filling the gap. So, yeah, the run game's a threat. It's just been because they've been so behind in these games quickly and in the second half playing catch-up, they've had to abandon the run game. But they can run the ball effectively.
Once again, this will be the toughest test for the Steelers defense so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And where are you coming on the Texans offensive line? Because some of the pressure we talked to Drew on Wednesday, some of it's on Watson. Maybe receivers not getting open. The line has not been great though, in my estimation.
They much would rather try to have success running, you would think, early and lean on the run more than to put some of those guys in situations, especially on that right side with their tackle having to go up against. Look, I mean, just the Steelers' defensive front overall, as we talked a little while ago, even four-man pressures, you would think that this team should be able to get home. And then, if you're going to creep, are you going to have the ability to creep a guy like Vince Williams up towards the line to make them kind of declare and maybe set yourselves up on either side of that to set up one-on-one situations with either Bud Dupree against Tunsil or Watt on the other side against the other tackle over there. So they're not built to pass protect 40 times a game.
Right. Yeah, I think you can still send some pressure, but maybe just send a safe four-man pressure where Watt drops out and you send Vince, or one of the linebackers drops out and Vince hits the big gap or something like that, and maybe they can pick off a pass on an attempted hot throw by Deshaun Watson. That could work because that line.
I would like to see what the Ravens did on that one. Ravens are crafty about dropping people out of there. They show you one thing, they'll sugar something up in the middle, and then you turn around and you got two defensive linemen.
Campbell,
right. You have two defensive linemen dropping, and then as I mentioned, that go back and look at that Peters interception. That's less on Watson, because that if Peters doesn't peel off of the outside out over there, that's a completion to who was it?
I'm not sure who it was on that play.
I'm trying to think who the wide receiver was over there. Oh, Cooks. It was Cooks over there. So, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the defense there. So I think it's imperative that the Steelers defense does some things that maybe Watson's not expecting.
Yeah, and that may be dropping Watt and Dupree occasionally, and obviously not often because you want those guys going forward, not backwards. But Watt's dropping the coverage only 4 times this year, and Dupree, I don't have the number offhand, but it's not much. It's a little higher, I think, but not significantly so. And so, yeah, if you can try to throw a couple different wrinkles and just change your approach, because I'm sure Houston's expecting blitz. They're preparing for the blitz. They're expecting a really ultra aggressive attacking 6-man pressure defense. If you can change that a little bit and get ahead of this cat and mouse game, I think it'll put the Steelers in a much better position.
Agreed.
And Titus Howard versus TJ Watt is the matchup to watch. Howard, a talented guy for sure, but he'll face his toughest matchup with TJ Watt. All right, so for the Texans defense, they are, of course, led by J.J. Watt, who's their leader with 2 sacks this season. And it's interesting. Let me actually get my numbers here, but the Houston Texans are one of the top teams in pressure rates. I think they are fifth in in blitz rates, and they are like 27th in pressure. So they're sending a lot of people, but it's not getting home, and that's going to have to change this week for them to be effective on defense.
Yeah, they are going to have to try to devise some ways to disguise and to get some people free, I think. Could we see a little bit, continue blitzing from them? That's dangerous against Ben, right? But here's the thing: it's J.J. Watt and a bunch of Jags. So far. Look, I like it, and I told our buddy the other day, during the preview there with Drew, Charles Omenihu. I liked him coming out of Texas, but he's kind of yet to hit his stride there. J.J. Watt, they'll move him from one end to the other, and he'll even line up over the nose. So you got to be real cognizant of where he is in this thing. What are they going to do with a guy like Cunningham? Are they going to try to send him a little bit more? It's just they're not getting consistent pressure enough out of any other guy other than J.J. Watt right now.
All right, 6th in blitz rate, 27th in pressure rate, and those numbers usually want to be a lot closer to each other. So yeah, that's been an issue for them. And yeah, they might send Cunningham a little bit, but and they'll be a little aggressive with blitzing, obviously, as the numbers indicate, but those guys just are not getting home. Jacob Martin's gotten some pressure, but really it's all about containing J.J. Watt. As you mentioned, I mean, he will line up all over the place, so he's not just going to play against Chooks, although obviously I think he'll see a core four, and that's a matchup they probably want to test as early and often as possible.
Yeah, you want to talk about a big game for Chukwuma Okorafor, right? I mean, this could be the one of the few this year deciding whether or not what you do at right tackle next year.
Mm-hmm. Or left tackle next year,
or left tackle. Yeah. J.J. Watt. I mean, what else is? I mean, he can beat you in so many ways. I mean, that swim move of his, he'll long arm you. I'm
worried about him getting a pass deflection. Ben had 3 of them batted last week,
Good point. He'll outside in you, so many different ways that J.J. Watt can beat you. And once again, he's going to be all over that up and down that defensive line. So just as we said, the key matchup with on the Steelers side is T.J. versus their right tackle. It's the same on the other side of the ball with J.J. and Chukwuma Okorafor, really the key one to watch.
And while their other defensive linemen aren't really stars, but I think they do a good job of just having good gap integrity and taking on blocks and letting their linebackers run free, because they had a couple of good linebackers in Zach Cunningham and Derek McKinney. I think those guys are excellent. They flow well. They're physical. Cunningham is a little bit more athletic. McKinney's more of an old school Vince Williams type of dude, but they play the run well.
This is the opportunity to turn the how the turn tables to test their safeties and their linebackers coverage on a tight end.
Yeah, it's interesting. I couldn't get a great read for how they're going to attack Pittsburgh, because against Kansas City, they played almost exclusively man coverage. Against Baltimore, I saw a lot more zone, but they will play man against a lot of 2x2 sets. Steelers have done a good job being able to beat man coverage with picks and rubs. Saw that in both weeks, Denver and the Giants game. And so I think against 2x2, man beaters, rubs, and picks is probably the way to go to try to beat this Texans defense.
I'm not convinced they're going to play a lot of man. I think they'd be asking for it if they do. I think they'd kind of go old school here and tackle the catch. Don't give up anything over the head. Okay. I think that's, personally, from what I've seen, I think that's their best chance at this. Bottle the run, kind of old Dick LeBeau philosophy here. Stop the run. Play a little bit more zone. Tackle the catch and just don't give up anything over their head. I don't think they're built to, against this Steeler wide receiver group, to play an exorbitant amount of man.
Yeah, I mean, what is Romeo Crennel's role in Houston? He's an assistant head coach. He's not the DC anymore, but he's always, I think, given Tom Brady and Pittsburgh a lot of fits.
Yeah, usually he's had some personnel to do it with, though, too, with in addition to Watt, but once again, as we said, they're gonna be interesting to see, are we going to see maybe them turn the table, try some Fire X,
Right. I mean, they got some talent. Justin Reed, we both love Justin Reed coming out, and I
Right.
still wish the Steelers would have drafted him. That would have been nice.
Are
Vernon Hargreaves played better.
Are they going to do some stuff for sending the corners off? Kind of thing. I don't think on top of it, I don't think you can just sit back with them in 4-man pressure either all game and just expect Ben not to hit the windows.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting with Houston is that, to me, it feels like they're getting their whole defense back this week in the sense of the first 2 weeks against Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, they were kind of playing with 10 guys because one guy had to spy and focus on Mahomes or Jackson running around, and that's not going to be the case with Ben, obviously. So it kind of feels like they're playing with a full deck this week, and that might help them just because they've been kind of hamstrung by having to deal with the quarterback contained and option plays and all the weird misdirection stuff that Kansas City and Baltimore present. So I think in that sense, it's almost just a weight off their shoulders by facing a more static Steelers offense.
So maybe a little bit more cover one robber or something.
Yeah, I just think it's just easier because it feels like your hand was tied behind your back whenever you're playing these quarterbacks and when you're kind of not having to worry about that stuff with Ben because obviously he's not a threat to run and they're not going to run option plays and stuff like what KC and Baltimore did. I think it just kind of makes your defense feel like it's a lot easier, like you're on easy mode now. So I think the Texans actually could match up pretty well against the Steelers offense.
All right.
Anything else with the Texans you want to know? Special teams? I don't have a whole lot there for you this week.
Be a nice week to keep the Texans streak alive of no turnovers, right. and the Steelers break that 25 game. I'm not holding my breath though, man. Until it happens, we'll celebrate it. We'll write about it. Might have wifey go get a cake or something when this 25 game streak ends of turnovers. But how that would go a long way, obviously, in helping this helping the Steelers win this game. As would the fact of due to this Texans team, what has happened to them the first 2 weeks here, get on top of them. And, we talked the other day of the first offense that we saw the Dolphins go down the field last night, opening possession, touchdown. How nice would it be at home for that offense to come out for the Steelers and put the Texans down 7-0? That's another aspect of this game that could go, that can get the Tech. Because look, this Texans team, I think, can unravel quickly if they get down 10-0, 14-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another streak. 20 straight games of not having an opening drive touchdown, 25 straight games with a turnover. I mean, those are both big droughts that you want to break. I'm looking at what happened against Baltimore and Kansas City. KC punted on their first possession, and Baltimore punted as well. So Houston, very small sample size, of course, but they have at least started relatively quickly in both games.
Okay.
All right, Dave. Where do you want to go from here? Anything else with Houston you want to mention, or I think we covered that pretty well?
I think we got it pretty well, right?
All right, so before we start picking week 3, you guys can pick these games along with us over at MyBookie, always a good sponsor and friend of the show. So, Dave, tell us about our friends over at MyBookie.
I certainly will. Winning season has returned at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means Survivor, Super Contest, and Squares. At MyBookie, winning season means hitting all your parlays, props, with your feet up, watching your team trounced their rivals. Rejoice. It's time to celebrate the NFL season. Invest in your intuition. Use promo code TERRIBLE and double your first deposit today at mybookie.ag. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. From live betting to championship futures, every play you want to make is waiting for you at MyBookie. It's simple. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash. Use promo code TERRIBLE and double your first deposit today. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Get there now.
All right, good stuff, Dave. And someone on Twitter just asked me if I wanted to buy Artie Burns' Escalade that's on auction right now. I think that's a good gift for you, Dave.
I no, thank you.
All right. Anyway, let's get through our week 3 picks.
Last night, we went different directions there. You had the Jaguars plus or minus 3. I had the Dolphins plus 3. I never sweated it in this one. Right from the get-go there. The Dolphins really blew the Jaguars out, for lack of a better term there. Fitzpatrick looked really, really sharp in that game. The Jaguars offense, not so much. So I entered the weekend 1-0. You enter it 0-1. And let's get on to this week's games. The Raiders at the New England Patriots. Patriots laying 5.5. An interesting line here, 5.5, because the Raiders looked really good the other night, opening up Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas, and now they go and play a Patriots team that was one play away from being 2-0. Patriots laying 5.5 at home against the Raiders.
Raiders feel like a sleeper team for sure. They're playing well, though I know Josh Jacobs is dealing with an injury. I'm very high on the Raiders and how they played so far, but I'm going to stick with New England on this one just because Belichick is just always going to win out.
Yeah, I think Gruden going to have a little bit tougher chore this week here. Give me the Patriots to lay the 5.5 at home. The Rams, this ought to be a good one. The Rams go on the road to play the Buffalo Bills. The Bills at home laying 2.
Give me the Rams. I've been pretty down on the Rams. I've been wrong both times this week, so let me jump on that bandwagon last second here, and I'll go with L.A.
I was going to hope and you was going to go with the Bills there because I think the Rams will have a little something for the Bills on the road this week. Give me the Rams to win this one outright. So get on the money line with them. Give me the Rams plus 2 points. I'll follow Alex with that one. Let's see here. For some reason, I'm not pulling up all. Hold on here. Let me. And dead air is always good for a podcast. San Francisco 49ers at the New York Giants. The 49ers, a bunch of injuries, man. A bunch of injuries. But even so, playing on the road. Wait, they were at the Jets, so they stay in the Meadowlands there.
Are they?
Yeah, they can't look forward to playing on that MetLife Stadium turf again. But even so, the 49ers on the road favored by 3.5. Interesting.
Yeah, I know the Giants have played better. Who scheduled that for the 49ers? Back-to-back weeks? They had to fly back to San Francisco, then they got to fly back?
Did they stay out there, didn't they?
Did they stay out there? I guess that would probably make the most amount of sense. But still, what a crappy schedule. And, yeah, the injuries bugs have been brutal for them. But still, like Kyle Shanahan schematically, I'm going to go with the 49ers to win by 6 points.
You know what? I smell a rat here. I smell a MetLife. I bet there are some good-sized MetLife rats running around that place. Give me the Giants to win this one outright. Danny Dimes, plus 3.5. I'll take that 3.5 at home. Let's see. Tennessee Titans on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. Another good game here. Vikings at home are underdogs, plus 3 points.
Yeah, well, they're underdogs because Kirk Cousins was as bad as he's ever been last week. I'm going to go with Tennessee in this one.
Give me the underdog again. Give me another one. Give me the Vikings to win this one outright. A dog win at home. Vikings plus 3. I'm all over there. The Washington football team goes on the road and plays the Cleveland Browns. Browns at home laying 7 points, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cleveland. They bounced back, and Odell got more involved in the offense, and that run game is really strong with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. It's one of the best 1-2 duos in all of football.
Yeah, I think the Browns are a little bit better than what they started off with. Not a huge test here. Give me the Browns to cover this one at home. Lay the 7 points here. Cincinnati Bengals on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bengals trying to get their first win of the season. Well, both these teams are, right? Philadelphia 0-2 as well, too. Wentz versus Burrow, minus 4.5. Eagles favorite at home, laying 4.5.
Yeah, Wentz has really struggled. A lot of talk about his problems. I'm not sure what's going on over there. They've had some injuries as well.
What happens if the Eagles lose this one?
I mean, I don't want to listen to Philly radio because it's going to be a mess out there. I'm tempted to say the Bengals cover. I'm going to lean Philadelphia, though, but I have a feeling I'm going to regret that.
I'm going to go Philadelphia, blow them out, lay the 4.5 here. Chicago Bears on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. Another team struggling in the Falcons here. Falcons laying 3.5 at home. Matty Ice going to get them right?
I mean, he's been fantastic, and they still can't stop blowing leads like they did last week to Dallas. And Trubisky's played better, but there's just too much firepower. Julio only 2 receptions last week. I think he has a big bounce-back performance, and Falcons win big.
Didn't that game again, the Bears game, come down to like one of the late final plays of that game there? Bears stopped them in the red zone on like a 4th down or something like that. Anyway, I think Atlanta pulls this one out as well. Lay the 3.5 on the road. Jets at the Colts. Indianapolis at home laying 11.5 against the Jets. Ooh. Adam Gase is not long for, is he?
I can't believe he's still the head coach. It's remarkable that they've just kept him around and with predictable results. That's a big line, but man, the Jets have just looked so bad. I think Crowder's going to be out again this week. Give me the Colts win by 2 scores.
I think the Jets lose, but I think they keep it within that 11.5. So give me the Jets plus an 11.5. I don't know why I'm doing that. Panthers on the road against the Chargers. Chargers laying 6.5. No Christian McCaffrey, obviously, for the Panthers. With I think he got an ankle injury or something going on there. So Chargers laying 6.5. Who's going to quarter? Dr. Herbert? Dr. Herbert. Who's going to quarterback this one?
Is that a reference to something that I'm not aware of?
Tyrod got that shot in the chest.
Oh, sure.
They're wondering who that doctor was.
Right. Yeah, the Chargers and team doctors have not had a good track record there. I think Herbert's going to start again. And Carolina's on the road. They're coming out to the Chargers.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah, give me the Chargers then.
Let's see. I lost my place here. I will take the Chargers at home as well too. Lay the 6.5. Detroit Lions go out play the red hot Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals laying 6 at home against the Lions.
Yeah, give me Arizona. I've been really impressed by that offense. Hopkins has obviously fit in well right away. The defense has maybe shown some sign of improvements, and Kyler Murray is just one of the most electric players in football. So give me the Cardinals.
Matt Patricia is another one that could be looking for defensive coordinator work here before too long. I like the Cardinals to win this. I like the Lions to cover, though. Give me the Lions plus 6. Tampa Bay on the road against the Denver Broncos. Broncos at home plus 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tampa. They bounced back like we kind of expected they would. And Mike Evans, I think, had a pretty big game. Is Godwin playing this week?
I think he's back this week. I think he's back this week.
So give me Tampa Bay and Tom Brady.
I'm with you. I'll hold your hand on this one. Lay the 6 on the road with Tampa Bay. Dallas Cowboys on the road. Dallas injuries right and left. They can't stay healthy. A good thing they pulled that one out against Atlanta last week. Seattle Seahawks at home laying 5.5 against the Cowboys.
Man, Dak's been so good these first 2 weeks, and there's been so much of a lack of talent around him. The offensive line's been beat up so much. This is a great game. I'm going to say Dallas covers, but I think Seattle wins this one.
I'm going to make this my stone cold lock of the century of the year of the week. Give me Seattle lay the 5.5 points at home. I don't think Dallas will have their defense will have anything for that Seahawks offense. Packers on the road against the Saints. This one should be a good one. Saints at home against the Packers laying 3. Wow.
Saints really missing Michael Thomas. That was clear last week. Don't think Thomas is going to return, so I'm going Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
I like Green Bay to upset the Saints as well too. Have you looked at Drew Brees' average yards per completion pass lines? He can't complete anything down the field. You know,
right? Yeah.
Give me and Aaron Rodgers can. So with that, I don't know how many fans will be letting in the Superdome, but it won't be enough. So with that, give me the Packers plus 3 on the road. That puts us at Monday night. A lot of good games this week. Kansas City against the Baltimore Ravens. The good news is at least we think that one of these teams is going to lose this game.
Hope so.
Although a tie wouldn't be bad, I just don't foresee that happening. Chiefs on the road. Ravens favored by 3.5.
Man, this one's so tough. I'm not even sure where I want to go with this one. I'm going to make you pick this one first. Do the hard one.
Give me Patrick Mahomes, St. Patrick, somehow to pull this one off. He'll be the difference in this one. Even though that Ravens offensively and defensively, they're there again, even though their defense is probably not as good as what they've been in the past. At least I don't think. This will be their biggest test for sure when it comes to the Ravens defense. Give me the Chiefs to win this one outright. I want plus 3.5.
I think that Ravens secondary is just a little bit stronger than the Chiefs, so I'm going to go Baltimore on this one.
All right, to cover, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us back to the Texans at the Steelers, 1 o'clock at Heinz Field. This line now settles at Steelers laying 4 at home.
Oh, man, I think I'm going to get some people mad at me for this one, Dave. I like Houston. I like Deshaun Watson. I think they're going to handle some of the pressure. Obviously, they have a much better quarterback to do that than what Daniel Jones and Jeff Driscoll were offering. I think the Texans defense has been very battle-tested, and facing Pittsburgh's less chaotic offense is going to be, and it's a little trite to say, but like a sigh of relief. Just makes it feel like it's a lot easier to deal with. So I'm going Houston, and this one was the upset, 24-23 over the Steelers.
Wow, what we're going to be talking about the Steelers defense then quite a bit on really both sides of the ball. But I mean, 24 points. You think they're going to give up, huh?
Yeah, I think they'll beat the blitz well, and they got some big playmakers downfield, and the Steelers secondary has not been the cleanest so far, even blitzes notwithstanding. And you got Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. You make a mistake, those guys are going to make you pay. I think the tight end, Jordan Akins, has a pretty good game.
So you expect that turnover streak to continue for the Steelers, I would think.
Probably, unfortunately. No reason to think it's going to stop yet.
And you would expect obviously the Texans' turnover streak would end of not having one as well too. Interesting. I have the Steelers winning this one. I'm kind of conflicted on. I don't think the Steelers' offense will be back lighting it up just yet, but I think they can put 23 points on the board. That puts I think the Texans once again get a late touchdown here to have us scratching our heads and wondering if the Steelers will hold on here. I have this as a 3-point game overall, 23-20 Steelers. So I would have the Texans covering that 4 points overall. I think the Steelers win this one, but in a close one here. So once again, I think the Texans will get a late. Seems to be what happens here. Kind of a late garbage touchdown, if you will. So 23-20 Steelers.
So we both have the Steelers scoring 23. I just have Houston scoring 4 more.
All
right. Good stuff. All right, let's get to some reader emails and close out the show.
All right, let's get to some reader emails here. Let's see here.
Some good fan mail today. Had some good questions lately, so hopefully that keeps going.
Extending Ben. Jack Parison writes in, just listened to the Wednesday episode of the podcast and you briefly referenced the possibility of extending Ben beyond his current deal. I'm curious whether this is something you honestly expect them to do prior to the expiration of his current contract. I don't expect Ben to be the quarterback of this team in the 2022 season. If he is, I would hope that they go to doing 1-year deals after his current contract ends. Ben has never been to fitness, but that the other quarterbacks who have played into their 40s. I don't know what that means. I think he typed something wrong there. He has not looked great this year yet. While it's only 2 weeks, I don't expect him to look more nimble, athletic as he continues to age. Overall, I'd be bummed if I heard that they extended Ben prior to his current contract's end due to the potential dead money it would add to perennial tight cap. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this proposition. Go ahead, Alex.
Listen, for me, as long as number 7's playing and playing like he has been, and I assume he'll even get better as he shakes off more of the rust, that is your ticket to the Super Bowl, at least having a chance at the Super Bowl is having Ben. So I will not be mad if they extend him. I understand that he's not maybe the peak fitness guy, but listen, you got a lot of these quarterbacks who are playing long into their careers. He's taking care of his body. He's taking a lot less hits. And the longer 7 plays, the longer that Super Bowl window remains open, and that's a good thing in my opinion.
Jack, until we see this season that Ben has regressed, okay? If we see Ben has regressed and let's say this team, barely gets into the playoffs or doesn't make the playoffs at all, and if it's because of the offense and the quarterback position, look, obviously you would have to take a hard look at it then if Ben's not the same guy. But if Ben continues to progress and gets it, and plays quality quarterback, if they want any cap relief in 2021, it's going to have to come via a Ben extension of some sort. All right, there's not a lot to be saved there, but there is a little bit can be saved there. And also, do you want to get in a situation where if you don't extend Ben next offseason, then you're almost resigned to the fact of placing the franchise tag on him ahead of the 2022 season. All right, so what's that franchise tag amount going to be? A lot. I mean, you'd almost be better off to get him to sign another 2-year deal and just risking potential dead money out there because of the cap, going up, yada, yada, yada. So, Jack, I still like the possibility of them extending Ben in February or March, barring there being a regression in his play or there an injury. If there is not a regression in play, if there is not an injury the remainder of this season, I don't see how you don't do it. And that's where all my analysis comes in on this, is assuming that there is no regression, assuming that there is no injury. Plain and simple. I don't think you're setting yourself. Look, if you're extending him, you're probably going to extend him another 2 years, which means you would think he could play at least through 2022. And if that's the case, I don't see why you don't do that. I will be surprised if they don't extend him in February and March. And if they don't, it's because of injury or extreme regression in play. Fair enough, Alex? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how else to to put that,
And listen, I know that we want to talk about other quarterbacks and drafting somebody or signing this guy, but we saw what life was like without Ben last year, and I don't want to see that happen for a long time if I can help it.
Brett writes in, I want to point out a moment I found in the tape. I think it's the defining moment for Dotson. I was watching the replay of Connor's long run at the end of the game, and as the run developed, I noticed that there was a big guy running a play down from behind, and it was Kevin Dotson. When I looked at it in detail, I discovered that as Connor was breaking into the secondary, Dotson was finishing a washout block, and he looked up and saw Connor in the secondary. He was flat-footed and stopped, and he took off running, and not only kept up with Connor, but was actually closing on him. There were three things that really stood out to me about that moment. Hustle. This was the last significant play of his first game. He should have been tired, yet he still had hustle, stamina, and heart to chase down. That kind of hustle to the play is Hayward-esque. That is a future leader, in my honest opinion. Number 2, athleticism. That's a 320-pound lineman running down a running back. I know he didn't go to the combine, and that's probably a huge blessing. My guess is he would have had one of his best time spark scores for an old lineman. That athleticism in the fourth rounder is a steal, in my honest opinion. Number 3, IQ. Being in a position to throw a block or recover a fumble and not committing a block in the back foul is heady stuff for a rookie in his first game. Look at this play and answer me 2 questions. Is he the most athletic lineman the Steelers have had in recent years? Do you think he's going to be a leader on the O-line in 2 or 3 years? I think both those things are true. He reminds me so much of Dermontti Dawson. Let's see, who else threw out a help me out here, Alex. Who else threw out a Dermontti Dawson comparison on this podcast? And on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a guy who's talking about getting a new gaming chair. What's his name?
Yeah.
Paul. I think it's Paul something.
Paul, yeah, that's the ticket.
No, you put up that clip of Dotson too, running that down. I mean, yeah, that was impressive.
Very impressive.
That's a great email. I mean, I agree with most everything there for sure. I don't know if he's the most athletic lineman in recent memory. I think Pouncey still holds that mantle, but yeah, Dawson showing that effort, and definitely a big guy that can move. And he's just, and this is a small thing, but I mean, he helps the runner up every single time. You watch somebody on the ground, Dawson's like the first guy to help that guy up. So really seemed to make the most of that first start, and he played really, really well.
Ramon Foster did that quite a bit, didn't he?
Yeah. Just, and it's a small thing, I know, but I did appreciate that.
Do I think this guy has a potential to be the next leader of the offensive line 4 years from now, 3 years from now? Absolutely. Is his athleticism better than, look, we didn't have combine to go off of, so is his athleticism maybe better than even what we thought? I mean, look, Alex put up, you want a good clip, man. That dancing bear clip that you put up, that was really impressive. And when you take that clip and you throw it in with this Dotson just a scoot, man, them legs are just a kicking it, man, going down the field. First guy, he almost kept up with him. You know the encouraging thing? Him and Chase Claypool were the two guys right there, right away to pick up James Conner off the ground. So that was impressive. And boy, Dotson was just getting. Now, is he the most athletic lineman have had in recent years? Get back to me at the end of the season on that question. But he is a lot more athletic than what maybe we saw coming out of Louisiana Lafayette, because we didn't see him at the combine there. Can he be a DeMonte Dawson type player? I put that out a couple weeks ago, and it's way too early to maybe throw that out there. But the way he just handles himself in the media as a rookie kind of speaks to that. I'll put it to you this way: there's not a lot not to like about Kevin Dotson so far.
I'm with you. We'll have to get Dave T had some numbers on Dotson at his pro day-ish or some sort of private workout he had. I don't remember what those numbers were, but maybe I can find those again.
The football IQ needs some work. Some zone stuff. I think he missed some stuff on, some assignments on, but that might come.
Yeah, I had experience.
Bryce writes in, hey guys, some questions. I know we are in the era of spread football, but we seem to have backs that are more geared to punishing defenses as game goes on. So I think this is going to get me to a good point here. So I think one of Randy's biggest weaknesses is that he seems to lose his nerve when it comes to patience with the run game. He doesn't need to go run, pass every series. Do they go run, pass every series? No. But he needs to put more trust in physicality. Bryce likes to get hung up in result bias. Here, must trust in physicality of our offensive line. Our backs getting downhill. Needs to call more runs and be a little more patient with the run game for it to be more successful. Do you agree or disagree with this analysis, and why? Excluding Ben, what offensive player do you feel needs to have the biggest impact on Sunday for the Steelers to beat the Texans, and why? Talk to Bryce.
Well, yeah, I can answer the second one in terms of what offensive player aside from Ben needs to step up. I mean, I think Chooks is that guy against J.J. Watt, and obviously he's going to get a lot of help and a lot of chips and attention. But being able to first identify J.J. Watt, and then when he's against Chooks, is going to be, I think, the big matchup to watch, because he's their top pass rusher by a wide margin. What's Bryce's central point about
Randy's biggest weakness is that he seems to lose his nerves when it comes to patience with the running game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to quantify that. I'd have to do some sort of maybe analysis, look at the numbers a little bit more. I don't think you need to have patience in the run game to have a good run game. Again, it goes back to just running it efficiently and effectively, not having to run it necessarily in terms of volume. When you have Ben and number 7, you're going to throw the football with him. So I'm not even sure really how to evaluate patience in the run game in that sense, especially whenever you say he's run, pass, and then you say he's not patient enough with the run game. Those kind of seem to contradict each other. So I just have a great answer for you on that, Bryce. And it's 2 games. It's 2 games. I mean, it's a small sample size.
Right. It's 2 games. And look, I mean, you cherry pick it all you want. 2 100-yard games by running backs or 2 100-yard games by running backs, all right? Yeah, there was long runs and blah, blah, blah. Success rates have been a lot more acceptable when they've been in the past. Would we like to see success rates 50% or higher? Absolutely. That's another reason to go buy a cake if that happens. But would like to see them get more spacing for these guys to run, because Connor and Snell are not going to be guys that make people miss in traffic. Okay. Now, this is one important point I want to get to that I forgot to when we went over the game stuff there. On Steelers.com, a couple pictures, especially, was it yesterday? Who did we see in the huddle there with the ones?
One Mr. Anthony McFarland.
And who else was in that huddle?
Is Claypool there too?
Yes, and who else was in the huddle?
I'm not sure.
Now, granted, Juju didn't practice, but Ray was in the huddle.
Was he? Okay.
I think I will be very disappointed if we don't see Anthony McFarland get 4 or 5 snaps at least this week. We talk. Everybody talk about get Derek Watt more snaps. I'm from the campaign of get Anthony McFarland some snaps in this game. Don't be surprised if we see some sort of, razzle-dazzle or something with McFarland and Ray on the field. I think you've got to start. Look, you drafted the kid. Kind of unorthodox. We didn't think this team would probably needed to draft a running back. But after the fact that we said, look at the kind of running back they drafted, okay, well, start showing me how you can use that running back, Matt Canada, Randy Fichtner. One of them guys is going to break an explosive run, Alex, this week.
Ooh, I like it. Probably better offensively. Rex McFarland could do that in the kick return game, and he's been close. But you're saying offensively, one of those guys. I'm
talking offensively, one of those guys is going to break an explosive run, and it might be double explosive too.
Ooh, I like it.
Right. So you want to start getting that run game respected. You got to with motion. Did you see the motion that Miami tried to use on that touchdown last night? How bad the timing was off on that, and they still scored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the timing hasn't been great with the Steelers with some of this motion so far. What do you think about the motion so far?
Yeah, it hasn't been very effective. I think defenses aren't respecting it. I mean, the timing can be off. I mean, you obviously want to try to time it up pretty close, but even if you're throwing the ball to that guy in the flat, even if the timing isn't right, I mean, you got to have something that forces defenses to respect that, and they're just not doing that right now.
Let's see. Evan Furnish writes in, hey guys, just want to say I'm a big fan of your site. It has taught me so much about football and has allowed me to enjoy it much more. Question, what are your 3 keys to victory against the Texans? Also, can you guys do a YouTube breakdowns of opposing teams before games? Evan, go on SteelersDepot.com. Every Friday or so, depending on when the game is, we do offensive and defensive breakdowns. Maybe not on YouTube because that takes time to put together, but we're stretched pretty thin. I think the guys do a phenomenal job on the offensive defensive breakdowns before games of the oppositions, Evan. So make sure you're missing them. But they're scouting reports on offense and defense, 2 different posts that generally go up on Friday, right, Alex?
Yeah, go up Friday unless it's a Monday game. Then they'll go up on Monday. But that's Josh and Tom helping me out to break down the opponent each week. And then for keys, quickly, don't turn the football over. Scale back some of these blitzes, and give me a good third key to this game, Dave.
Put the speed to use.
I like it.
Put the speed to use on offense. I'm not going to give all of them because I have a column that comes out or a post that comes out on Saturday with 5 keys. So tune in for that. Gene Giordani writes in. I hope I said that right. Hello, Dave and Alex. Hope you're doing well. Not really a question. Just wanted to let Dave know that that not all listeners are annoyed by his use of unorthodox words like fungible. I particularly think it's funny, and you shouldn't stop. As a non-native speaker, I don't always understand what they mean, but I also get to learn some new words, and I'm trying to incorporate fungible in my vocabulary. Thanks for the wonderful job. Peace and love. Good for you, Gene. Did you see the clip someone put from the old Kids in the Hall clip? Did you see someone tweeted that out to you?
Kids in the Hall?
Yeah.
I'm sure I did. I'm not even sure. What was the reference?
The kid goes into the boss's office and he's being accused of using the word ascertain way too much. And the boss is getting complaints from the people because every other word he uses is ascertain. You got to go watch that clip.
Look, we're educators, Dave. I think we're trying to get on PBS.
Look, Gene, I am also non-native speaker.
That's not true.
I don't know. Yeah, I've been accused of that several times. How about we use that as a stopping point? Let me see if we got one more over here left over on the next page that I miss. No, I think we got all of them there. Okay. Thank you for tuning in this week. We Alex and I certainly do appreciate it. Thank you for visiting the website this week. Traffic has been absolutely phenomenal. Alex and I really, really do appreciate that. appreciate you reading all the stuff and commenting on the site. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, please, and hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you want an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, click on the ad-free button up right navigational bar. For $25, you create an username and password. After you pay and you get that username and password, you've got to click the login button up top, people. Click the login. I got an email just this morning that as soon as I get off this, I got to respond to someone saying, why won't the ad stop when I register for the ad free? It's because you got to use that username and password, click the login button, and then that gets you to the other side there. It's a very, very important step of this that people aren't doing. I get a lot of emails on that. So a lot of people are taking us up on this once they figure it out as well, too. So $25 a year, you can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. All right. Alex and I will be back on Monday. Hopefully we're talking about my Steelers win and not a Texans win like Alex predicted here. So in the meantime, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.